Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. Today's video is the 2024 NFL Draft prospect, Troy Franklin, wide receiver out of the University of Oregon. Quack, quack. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me to talk about Mr. Franklin today and tell you why he's going to be a success in the National Football League. I call him the Phil Collins of the 2024 NFL Draft. He's the most talented guy I know right now that's covering the 2024 NFL Draft. He puts in 17 long hours every day. I call him not only the Phil Collins of the 2024 NFL Draft, I call him Mr. Workaholic. Boy, he can work to the next level. I'm telling you, this guy is very talented, and we're glad to have him today here on 100 Yards Football. Mr. Daniel Kelly coming to us live out of Key West, Florida. And by the way, also, he was a former scout under two of the greatest coaches in the game, Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, with his time with the New York Jets. How you doing, Mr. Daniel Kelly, coming to us live out of Key West, Florida today?
Hey, I'm doing super well, Mr. Turner. After that intro, you got me all jazzed up. I mean, we're moving closer and closer to this draft day, and this draft season is so awesome. It's like I call it Super Bowl Junior because it's just the talk of the town right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, let's talk about Mr. Franklin. Tell us what your report is on him and what you love about him.
Absolutely. You see him on your screen there, 6'3", 187 pounds. And before I begin talking, I always come back to the game film. FirstRoundMock.com, my draft site, a little selfless plug here. And why? Is because I feel it's so important to base our opinions about a prospect off game film. Our site's the only one out there that offers all the links to all the games. You can go on the site, click to, type in Troy Franklin, click on the games and see for yourself to hold me accountable, which social media loves to do. 2022, I looked at 6 games on Troy Franklin. 2023, I looked at him against Oregon State, Utah, Washington, Colorado, Texas Tech, Hawaii, and Stanford. Some of these prospects I just have glowing reports about, and some of these guys I don't. And I have to be honest about Troy Franklin. He regressed in the 2023 game film. I didn't leave the experience after watching his 2023 film feeling anywhere near as good as I did as he looked, that I thought he looked in the 2022 film. I actually had a first-round grade on Troy Franklin preseason headed into the 2023 campaign. But as it goes back to Bill Parcells, whose leadership I was hired under at the New York Jets in the pro scouting department, and his quote was, "You are either getting better or you get worse. You never stay the same." And that is so true with these prospects. From a 30,000-foot view, what does he do well? To your point, Mr. Turner, he has a quick release initially when the ball is snapped, especially for his size. Again, 6'3", 187. This allows him to gain initial position advantage on the route, known as route leverage within football circle talk, as far as like being in a scouting department, route leverage. He's a craftier route runner with a knack for getting open, and he runs his routes like an NFL vet. This guy knows what to do. Another positive is he knows how to work back to quarterbacks when the quarterback is under heavy pressure and he's in trouble. He knows how to do that, and he has overall good ball instincts. Very important. But then, ... What's the concern? ... Contested catches is a huge concern with Troy Franklin. It doesn't matter if it's on a 50-50 ball, which is just throwing up, go get it. It doesn't matter if it's on a short-range route and there's a tough collision when the ball arrives. It's a problem. And also, trust me, Troy Franklin is not mossing anyone. Okay. When I say Moss, I refer back to the Hall of Fame wide receiver, Randy Moss, jumping up with Dante Culpepper, going back in the ball, just jump up and get it. Go get it, dog. Those passes when those circus catches with Dante Culpepper, that's not Troy Franklin. Average catch radius, decent straight line speed, but lacks those coveted second gear afterburners to pull away and separate himself from a defense deep. On passes are a little bit overthrown. Nah, he ain't going to go get it. Franklin, and this is important. This is important. If anybody with an NFL team is watching this, a general manager, anybody in personnel is watching this, bottom line, Troy Franklin needs to go to an NFL team that has a quarterback with pinpoint ball placement downfield, a guy who can get it there at all three route levels. That is a prerequisite to drafting this guy. As far as the rest of the positives are concerned, and I do have a bunch of them, when we put them down even closer underneath the NFL draft microscope here and drill down and see what he looks like, he's durable. He seems to stay healthier. Possession type wide receiver, decent speed and body control in a limited area, decent hands. He can slip. He can at times. He's deceptive. At times he can slip behind a defense, a secondary when they fall asleep on him. Gets into his routes, glides into its routes. Smooth runner. Excels at comeback routes and also excels at intermediate curl routes. He finds the soft spots in zone. This guy has a nose for soft spots in zone coverage. He has instincts and knack to be able to find them and exploit them. Willing to block, which I also like. That's a selfless characteristic that's very high up on my list as far as football players in general. I like selfless football players. The NFL is a team sport, and he does show a propensity and a desire to want to block on film. Outside of the negatives that I've listed, they all got positive and negatives. Besides the ones I've already gone over and outlined, he has average yak. This is a concern because we're talking about a guy who doesn't get deep all that often on defenses. He's more or less a possession, short to intermediate route range runner, 0 to 19 yards in that range. So when you throw him the ball, it's, I'm looking for receivers as a guy who aspires to get a second chance in the NFL as a scout and one day become a general manager and run my own team. I'm looking for guys, receivers who specialize in yak, yards after the catch, and that he is very average at doing. Basically, when he does catch it, he basically gets stopped at that point. To conclude, before I turn it over to you, Mr. Turner, I can see Franklin going in the top half of the second round. It's a very deep wide receiver class. I think the record is 7 receivers taken in the first round of the draft. I can see there possibly be, I know I have 8 first-round grades I've handed out on my receivers board. I can see Franklin going in the top half of the second round to a non-playoff team from the 2023 season. I can't get this image out of my mind when I watch Troy Franklin, Denzel, the Mims, the guy that was with the Jets. I think 2020 he went number 59 overall, second round. I do believe that Troy Franklin does show on game film that he does care about the game more than Mims. I mean the comparison more in the way of his total body frame and structure. That's where I talk about the comp at. So it's a decent guy. He's a guy you can bring in. He's got the size of a number 1 receiver, but he does come with some disclaimers and asterisks next to his name ahead of the 2024 NFL Draft. Your thoughts, Mr. Turner, on Troy Franklin, quack, quack, on the the Oregon Ducks there on our screen.
Quack, quack, Mr. Troy Franklin. I didn't see a lot of Oregon football games this year. I saw a lot of highlights. And I look at Mr. Franklin. He played in 40 games in his career. He had over 160 receptions, over 2,500 yards. He averaged almost 15 yards a catch, 25 touchdowns. But I know this myself personally. He has made Bo Nix a lot of money. And every time I looked up watching Oregon, now I didn't watch a lot of game film like you, DK, but I seen this guy scoring touchdowns. Speed-wise, I see him running away from people. Now, that's what I saw on highlights. I guess they might be showing the good highlights of Oregon because they were winning football games. I think about him. He's got, to me, great deep speed. And with the 25 touchdowns, this guy's putting it in the end zone. Now, he's 6'2", 175. He is a little wiry. He's not as physical, just me. But when you look at his explosiveness and him and Bo Nix clicking out there in Eugene. You don't put up 25 touchdowns and average 15 yards a catch if you're not a threat on the field. And when I think about Troy Franklin, I think about him and his explosions. He's a California kid, and it looked like he's always getting deep on people. In my mind, Cliff Branch comes to my mind. In my mind, Mike Quick, that played with the Philadelphia Eagles, same age as me right now, doing radio for the Eagles. Mel Gray, who used to kill the Dallas Cowboys when he was playing with the St. Louis Cardinals, catching passes from Jim Hart. Mark Clayton, when he was at Louisville, then got with the Miami Dolphins, and his brother, Mark Duper, catching them passes from Danny Marino. Then Tim McGee, that played at Tennessee, that was a first-round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals. Then, of course, Willie Gault from Griffin, Georgia. Some in the water in Griffin, Jesse Tuggle, Ben Talley, Darren Hancock. And then, of course, when I think about Troy Franklin, me being 63 years old from the 901 Memphis, Tennessee, a very good friend of mine who I grew up with, and he had the same similar qualities as Troy Franklin. He went on to play football at the University of Memphis at the time, Memphis State, but he was all state. My best friend ended up retiring as a policeman in the 901 Memphis, Tennessee, Jerry Knowlton. I look at Troy Franklin having all that skill set, a guy, for some reason, I call him touchdown maker. Because you playing in the Pac-12, and the way Bo Nix' career kind of came back when Bo Nix was lost in Auburn, then got out there in Oregon. Now Bo Nix is a first-round pick. Troy Franklin played a key part in Bo Nix being very successful out there in Oregon. I love the football player. I think you're right, Mr. Daniel Kelly. He has to get in the right system. He's got to have some good coaching, but he's able to put on some more pounds in the right system. This guy, I think, could be a quality NFL starter. That's just my opinion, because you become first team All Pac-12. A lot of players don't do that. When you think about some former All Pac-12 players, Keyshawn Johnson, you feeling me? Lynn Swann, you feeling me? Dwayne Jarrett, are you feeling me? Ken Allen, are you feeling me? You don't become first team All Pac-12 if you're not that guy. Not in that conference, even though the conference is gone now. Not with all those great wide receivers. And the one thing that sticks out to me when I turn it back over you to DK, he averaged 15 yards a catch and he scored 25 touchdowns. They got putting the ball in the end zone. Back to you, Mr. Daniel Kelly.
Well, it's interesting. That's what they say about Chris Carter. All he does is catch touchdowns. That's why Buddy Ryan cut him. You know, but you know, it's interesting because in the game we live in today, to conclude, the NFL has become a pass-happy league with, you know, teamrankings.com, 32 out of 32 teams passing the ball more than 50% of the time. To me, wide receiver outside of quarterback has become the second most important priority position in the draft, because, you know, you got to have a guy to go get the ball. It doesn't matter, you know, I mean, that's the key to this thing too. You know, and when I say second round, okay, let me just kind of unpack this for a brief moment. You know, when I give a first or second round guy, I'm probably the hardest grader in my own eyes, and what people have said, hardest grader in America on these prospects. I mean, I'm a really hard grader, and I grade every single play. If I have probably 30, 40 notebooks that look like hieroglyphics, with the little chicken scratches of writing that I can't even read half the time. But I do decipher it. But I mean, you know, I break down every play, every movement, every route, every what's he doing, what's the body language, what's the route running like, what's the hips like, what's the hands like, what's the, you know, what are the break points like, what are you know, can he create throwing windows, can he separate, can he get yards after the catch? There's a whole list of things that I've outlined even in my last Yard Barker article of what I look for in wide receivers. And so when I give a guy a first or second round grade, that means I respect his game. First round means elite difference maker, playmaker to me. Second round means he's got some very good characteristics, but there's a few hiccups I see on film that if he cleans them up, I don't know if he can't type of thing at this given time. I don't know the fit, the organization, the coaching, the things that you talked about, Mr. Turner. But when I give a guy a second round grade, grade. That is a very high-end grade I'm giving somebody. And so, you know, I liked him off his 2022 film enough to give him a first-round grade. I liked him enough to give him a second-round grade. Wasn't quite as impressed. But, yeah, I can see him going to a team, plugging as a number one wide receiver. And I think for him, it's going to come down to his commitment level and his work ethic, plugging into a team, being open-minded, embracing coaching, embracing the playbook, getting in there early, staying late, showing that he wants it more than he even has on his college game film. And if he can do those things, yeah, there's definitely some real upside there, because he definitely has the size for it. And as you said, Mr. Turner, I mean, he basically he had a big role in turning Bo Nix's college career around. When he was at Auburn, people basically were done with him. And now myself included, I have a first-round grade on Bo Nix headed into this thing on draft day. So yeah, he has made a real difference in his career, and that's why wide receiver is the second most important position in the draft to me now as far as priority is concerned, because of the very thing we've seen of Troy Franklin do to resurrect the career of Bo Nix at Oregon. Your final thoughts, Mr. Turner, on Troy Franklin?
If you liked the video today, please come in and share it. I'm very, very blessed today to have Mr. Daniel Kelly, one of the most talented guys, like I said, to cover the 2024 NFL draft. You just heard him. There was a reason why he was a former scout with the New York Jets under two of the greatest coaches in the National Football League, in Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick. To our producer who made it happen today, the very talented Mr. Logan Landers from Alexander High School here in Douglasville, Georgia, who are going for their second straight state championship in basketball on Friday night. Kudos to Mr. Logan Landers in his high school. My final words about Troy Franklin. I think this gentleman was a very explosive football player at the University of Oregon. Like I said, 25 touchdowns in 3 years. You become first team All Pac-12. It's been some great receivers that's carried that honor. He's made Bo Nix a lot of money. That's why Mr. Nix is going to be a very wealthy man when the 2024 NFL draft comes around. My final words on Troy Franklin: I like speed, so I like energy. I think about when I was in college as a freshman, 1978, this band out of California, there was two brothers by the name of Brothers Johnson. Stepping out. The weekends are open wide. Fill it up. Let's blast the jams and ride. We're going to stump it all the way to the top. My man, Mr. Troy Franklin, is going to stump it all the way in the National Football League. I believe that from my heart. Thank you, Mr. Daniel Kelly from Key West, Florida, the best in the business. Phil Collins of the 2024 NFL Draft. And once again, it would not happen today. And I'm very blessed, and many prayers to our producer, Mr. Logan Landers, for his hard work and his talent, because we would not be doing this at a high level if not for him today. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of Football.
Be blessed. Thanks for watching.